Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into something incredibly specific, but honestly, super fascinating. We're going to take a really close look at a tiny piece of text, examining the words used and what they actually mean for us navigating the digital world today. As your host, I am so pumped to guide you through this explainer. We're looking at a phrase that literally promises immediate power, immediate value, and, well, instant gratification. It's a complete breakdown, and I promise you, by the end of this explainer, you're going to look at these kinds of digital promises in a totally different way. Okay, so here it is. This is the entirety of our source text right here. Active anime riffs codes. That's it. Just 4 words. It's incredibly brief, completely self-contained, and honestly, pretty mysterious. You know, when we stumble across text this concise, we really can't afford to just skim it, right? Every single syllable is pulling its weight here. Out in the wild, sprawling internet, brevity like this is kind of like a giant neon sign pointing to highly concentrated information. It's this perfectly wrapped little mystery that absolutely demands our full attention. So, let's get into part 1, the ultimate digital quest. Okay, let's dive into this by breaking our original phrase down into its core pieces. We can actually split this text up into 4 foundational linguistic pillars. So we've got pillar 1, active, pillar 2, anime, pillar 3, rifts, and pillar 4, codes. Now, each of these pillars is absolutely crucial to holding up the main promise of the text. Seriously, if you knock out even one of these words, the whole thing just collapses and the meaning is completely gone. So what we're going to do now is methodically go through each of these pillars to figure out exactly what this message is trying to tell us. Moving right along to part 2, the crucial word, active. Now, in this specific digital landscape, the word active means currently functional. It is a massive green light indicating immediate value and instant usability. Notice how the text doesn't say past or, potential. No, it dictates a current state. What follows is basically a live wire, completely ready to be used right this second. And the implication for you, the reader, is huge. You aren't looking at old, dead, historical data. You are looking at something completely alive at this exact moment in time. To really grasp the immense value of this active state, you kind of have to contrast it with its polar opposite, the dreaded inactive state. Nobody wants that. We're implicitly being promised highly valuable, functional assets here, which completely shields us from those useless, expired codes that literally only lead to disappointment. Because the text explicitly guarantees this active state right out of the gate, it completely wipes out any risk of failure for the user. It's a sure thing. Which brings us to part 3, the anime riffs universe. So these 2 words, anime riffs, basically act as your geographical coordinates inside this digital space. That awesome power promised by the very first word, active, well, it isn't universal. It is totally boxed in by this specific aesthetic and functional realm. It tells you the exact specific universe where you have to operate. You can't just spend this energy anywhere. You literally have to step into the world of anime riffs to actually realize its value. All right, next up is part 4, the power of codes. Okay, so the really crucial point here is understanding exactly what this final word actually represents. In this context, codes are essentially ciphers. They're very specific strings of text that you are meant to exchange to unlock these implied digital treasures. So a code is fundamentally a transactional tool, right? It's like the key to an unseen door. The text isn't just handing you the treasure directly, it's giving you the means to go get that treasure yourself. It inherently demands an action from you, the act of exchange. Let's look at how this builds into an implicit set of instructions. Even though it's literally just 4 words long, it naturally demands a whole 3-step procedure from anyone who reads it. Step 1, you have to locate these active codes. Step 2, you've got to transport them over to the anime riffs environment. And step 3, you input them to execute the transaction and get your rewards. So you see, the text isn't passive at all. It's a super active prompt that is directly commanding you to engage with it. And now we reach part 5, the missing data. We know the urgency, we know the exact destination, and we understand the transactional mechanism required. The stage is set. The anticipation is, quite frankly, palpable. We finally arrive at the ultimate question, the very question this text forces us to ask, and the one I know you've been eagerly waiting for. So, what are the actual codes? Exactly 0. Yeah, you heard me right, 0. That is the huge twist of our source text today. After setting up this brilliant 4-word architecture of urgency, a specific destination, and this massive transactional promise, it provides absolutely nothing else. There are zero specific codes actually given to the reader. The text just announces the concept of active codes for this universe, and then it just abruptly ends. It basically leaves you standing at the threshold with a totally empty hand. No way, right? Let's just summarize exactly what we just experienced here, because the contrast is honestly staggering. What the text actually provided was 1. The word active, 2. The words anime riffs, 3. The word codes, and number 4? Absolutely no underlying data. It is a literal masterpiece of unfulfilled promise. The text points directly at a treasure chest, promises us the lock is ready to be opened, hands us the idea of a key, but then flat out refuses to give us the actual key itself. Which brings us to our final takeaway. Why do we care? Why even spend the time to analyze this? Well, because texts like active anime rifts codes perfectly capture that eternal, unfulfilled human desire for digital rewards. We are so completely captivated by the mere promise of value. Think about it. The source material doesn't even need to provide the actual data to grab our attention. Just invoking the framework of a reward, telling us it's active, specific, and coded is more than enough to hook our minds. It leaves us to ponder this whole meta-narrative. At the end of the day, are we simply just chasing the idea of the reward rather than the reward itself? It's a pretty fascinating reflection on how we actually interact with digital information. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredibly focused explainer today. Keep questioning the text, keep looking for the data, and I'll catch you next time.